With the Edmonton Oilers cap situation getting more and more dire with the offer sheets, one Habs insider has proposed a big trade sending an Edmonton Oilers defenseman to Montreal along with some great draft compensation. We're going to get into all of that. Plus, NHL.com has released their list of the top 5 Montreal Canadiens prospects, and some of the rankings have some fans a little surprised. That plus an Oliver Kapanen update as he is starting the preseason on the first line. There's a ton of great stuff to get into, so stick around for this episode of Habs Digest, and we're going to start with Oliver Kapanen. Oh, our boy Cappy. I love Oliver Kapanen, Jesse. Of course, he had that phenomenal playoffs over in Europe. He had that phenomenal World Hockey Championship that had him really being a standout of the tournament with 6 goals, a lot of them being deflections, of course. But in a recent post, Timra on their Twitter, they posted here, I got the translation there, saying, soon it'll be time for puck drop, I guess is what it should say. Here is the squad that takes on Bruins in the first match of the preseason, and who is on the first line? And not just on the first line, but centering the first line, but Oliver Kapanen. Jesse, we knew he would be playing a pretty big role, and this isn't necessarily telling us where he's going to be once the regular season rolls around, but getting these opportunities, playing with Dahlen and Hollander right away is such an awesome thing to see for this, a guy who's shooting up the Habs prospect list faster than I think almost anyone.
That is so true, Josh. And playing with 2 people that has played in the NHL before, a very good sign, right? And he's really earned this opportunity, worked really hard to get here. And you have to feel in a very difficult, SHL, right? To be playing first line center. That's an amazing accomplishment. Young man, just turned 21 though now. He's starting to get a little bit older, which is great, right? He's looking to build off a very strong year last year, but especially that second part of the season, right? He's just kind of picking up his game at the right sort of time. So like you said, right, with his progression right now, like he's speeding up his timeline because of his good play. It seemed like he was maybe a little bit more of a longer term type of prospect, but like we could see him in Montreal, in Laval, sooner than later because of his play, and obviously he just has himself to thank.
I'm just noticing this, Jesse. Is that an A on his jersey, or is that just, I don't think that's what it means. I think it might mean something else. I don't know. Let us know down below if you know exactly what that means down there. Because I think it's the C for center, and I think the A might be alternate captain. I didn't know if he was named that. And by the way, Timra did win this game 3-1, so he didn't score, but it was a great game nonetheless. So awesome stuff from Oliver Kapanen. I'm super excited to see him play in North America, whenever that might be. We got to move on to some other prospects, Jesse. And well, Oliver Kapanen didn't make this list, but what did make this list, and what I think a lot of people are talking about, is Reinbacher and Hutson and where they should rank compared to each other in the Habs prospect system. Now, NHL.com and Sean Farrell, not that Sean Farrell, not Habs prospect Sean Farrell, though it is spelled the exact same. Now, there might be a bit of bias. I'm surprised I didn't see Sean Farrell on this list, but he did a recent list of the Habs top prospects, and well, there's no surprise that our boy Ivan Demidov made number 1. Again, link for this is down below. Everything in the video linked down below, all the articles. Demidov's number 1. Don't need to delve too deep into that. He was so phenomenal. Continuing his development, going to be in the KHL. We talk about him a lot, but the real thing, Jesse, is that he had David Reinbacher at number 2. Now, I'm not totally shocked by this. I think, Reinbacher has such high potential. He's in great spirits for this season. He's been saying how he's been working to make the Habs opening night roster, which might be less likely than we think, as we're going to get into a little later in this video. But a visit from the Canadiens director of player development, Rob Ramage, in November helped him get back on track. And they have Lane Hutson at 3, below Reinbacher, despite his amazing performance, despite him likely making the NHL before Reinbacher. Jesse, I just wanted to get your thoughts on this, because when I saw this, I know a lot of Habs fans are debating these two. I actually like this. I still think Reinbacher has a good chance to be the more impactful player between the two, but Hutson already has that experience. He looks to make the NHL this season. What are your thoughts on this?
There's a couple little controversies in just this short list of 5 players.
We'll get into the others later.
Getting right into it at number 2, right? For myself, this is, traditionally speaking, this is a fair take of having Reinbacher ahead of Hutson. Myself, personally speaking, I would have Hutson ahead of Reinbacher, but there's a fair argument to make either way, right? The argument for having Reinbacher ahead is that he's just a guy that can do it all. Mm-hmm. And folks, video was just released today of him training over in Switzerland. And is he ever looking quick on the ice? I'm thinking he's looking faster than Guhle out there, right? He's showing his skating, he's showing his mobility, looking smooth as ice out there. But then also having a very nice shot, right? Working on that. You can tell that's a big focus of his training because his skating is going to get himself a good, possibilities. It's just about getting that Hutson type of shot to really capitalize it. Because Hutson kind of has those dynamic, game-breaking, take over the whole game type of skill. That is why it's just because that's such a rare skill that you just don't see very often as well at all. But like for me, it's like Reinbacher and Hutson, they don't need to be at odds. Like these are players that complement each other. These are players we could actually see playing together on a pairing. Oh, yeah. Reinbacher being a right-hand defenseman, Hutson on left. Like you could make an argument that they could really actually complement each other really well. Like Reinbacher, is so good defensively, but then also has the skating where he could really kind of even help Hutson, explore even more in the offensive zone. I think would be a great combination together. But yeah, for myself, Hutson at number 2, but there's a fair case to also have Reinbacher there as well.
This is something I want the comments to go off on because I know there's going to be people on both sides. I'm willing to predict that most people are actually going to say it's Hutson above Reinbacher. Jesse, they're with you. I'm going to stick with my boy Reinbacher. There's something I just love about him. I think he's higher for now, but we'll have to wait and see. I want to get into the final part of this list before we move on to our final topic and a potential trade. Mailloux and Beck. Now, there's a lot of people kind of saying, like, where's Joshua Waugh? I don't know if in the article maybe I missed something that disqualifies Waugh. I could be wrong because he did play more games than literally anyone else in this list. Maybe he's not considered a prospect. So even if we assume that, though, Jesse, Mailloux and Beck, I think that's also fair. I think, though, there are still some people who see Owen Beck as having that more NHL level impact, though I think our fan base, and I think me and you are both in agreement that this makes kind of a lot of sense if you're not including Waugh. But if you include Waugh, I think you probably have to put him at least above Beck on this list.
Yeah, that's it. For Mailloux, I think he's securely there at number 4. No problems with that take whatsoever. At 5, however, is where I would probably go with a Xhekaj, right? Michael Xhekaj.
I like that too.
Over there. And again, just kind of the same rationale as the Reinbacher sort of Hutson sort of discourse is that, like, I just think Xhekaj has a little bit more of that game-breaking type ability, which because of just the value of that, the premium of goal scoring in today's NHL, how important that is, I would just take that ability to kind of nudge. That being said, Josh, we talk about this all the time. I love Owen Beck. Like, not only is he a talented player physically, I think low-key strong, but also just like his hockey IQ is very, very good. I love me just to watch Owen Beck talk about hockey, break down a play. Like, this guy is next level in his understanding. I have no doubt in his ability to be a full-time NHL player. I just have Michael Xhekaj just ahead of him for right now, but those guys are going to be battling it out.
That's a fantastic take as well. And you know what? I probably should have thought of that right off the bat, because I would also have Xhekaj above Beck, and I don't think I'd have him above Mailloux yet, because we've seen a lot from Mailloux, but man, Xhekaj's goal-scoring potential and just his smarts and love for the game, and also his story, that bumps up the points in the heart, and so that bumps him up a lot of people's list. So let us know down below, what do you agree, disagree with on this list? We'd love to hear from you. Final topic, Jesse. Well, we got to talk about the trade. Now, I've seen some people discuss this trade. I believe there's been some videos on YouTube. There have been some articles, but this is something that we wanted to dive into a little bit deeper here, and it has to do with the Oilers. Now, as a lot of you guys know, if you've been following the NHL, there has been an offer sheet recently. Not just one, but 2 from the St. Louis Blues to the Edmonton Oilers involving Dylan Holloway, who has often been in trade talks surrounding the Montreal Canadiens as a guy that fits their kind of reclamation project timeline. Not anymore. And Filip Broberg, who got offered a crazy $5 million per year contract from the Blues. And the Oilers, well, if they want to bring these guys back, or even if they want to bring both back, they need to make room. And so I think they want to match, because the compensation that they get back from St. Louis for losing these guys is not very much. And in a recent article, Marc Dumont, of course, from Montreal Hockey Now, article linked down below. Please go read it. It's a lot more in-depth than what we're going to go into, and he has some great analysis, including some other names that could be on the move from Edmonton. But he had some comments about how Montreal could take advantage of this situation. He basically says a more realistic target for Montreal is Cody Ceci. He's in the final year of a contract that carries a $3.5 million annual average value, making him a short-term problem, the perfect situation for the Habs. I don't know if perfect's the word I'd use, but hold on. If they do end up with Ceci in their lineup, there's also a possibility the Montreal Canadiens could then flip him for a pick at the trade deadline, though his value would be minimal. And if we take a look at Ceci's stats, yeah, he put up 25 points in 79 games, but overall, over his full career, numbers don't quite live up to that. And if you ask Leaf fans, well, they're definitely going to be a lot lower on him than most other fan bases. Great jawline on Cody Ceci, though. Jesse, he said it's a perfect thing, and like in a vacuum, I sort of agree. However, he's a right-hand shot defenseman, and you already have David Savard making about the same cap hit, and you're already worried that a guy like Justin Barron, who's no longer waiver exempt, might be bumped out of the lineup, and you might have to waive him. In a vacuum, yeah, I guess it makes sense. But to me, unless Montreal can pull some roster moves before bringing in Cody Ceci, even if they get like a first round pick alongside him, it it's tough for me unless they really plan to move someone before the season, because you're denying, at least in the short term, the opportunity from some young guys.
Which is completely opposite of what Jeff Gordon said that he wants to do, kind of leaving those spots for those younger guys. For myself, it's a hard no. I would have to disagree with Dumo on this one. I think that like the Habs have worked so long to get that cap space. They fought tooth and nail to finally get there. And I don't think that they're willing to kind of give up that well-deserved space, for a CC trade, right? Where it's a player like that I liked when he was playing with the 67s. I liked him in the OHL, but he just hasn't really been able to flourish at that next level, unfortunately. So for me, it's just not only the game, but also just like, I don't want to see a player like Hutson, Mailloux, Reinbacher getting delayed in the slightest, especially not a player that's going to be help right our team in any way. This is not part of the development that we're trying to do, the culture, everything else. And not to mention just that, we have a lot of offensive kind of style defensemen, which is kind of Ceci's game, even though that hasn't been able to come out as much there. So I know it's getting predatory out there with the Oilers and that whole situation, but I think Kent Hughes is going to steer clear of this, Chad.
Yeah, like, if this was last year, I think I'd be all over this, but we're at a point now where acquiring draft capital is always a good thing. Right, and this is kind of reminiscent of the Monahan-esque trade, right? You bring in a guy who could very well be a solid defenseman for you for just like probably half a year or 2/3 of the year, and you ship him out of the trade deadline, and you get a really good draft pick alongside it. It's like, holy crap, Montreal has that pick too. But if it's a first from Edmonton, it's probably not going to be very good unless it's really far in the future, maybe, and you're predicting that they fall off a cliff. But I think the big thing, Jesse, is that especially with David Savard also there, and you still have Madison, you have Guhle, you're just clogging up. Like, I don't entirely mind the idea of Hutson, Reinbacher, and Mailloux all playing in the AHL. I don't think it's going to set them back drastically. But like you said, I don't think it fits the motive, the kind of what they're trying to set up for the future here in Montreal. But let us know down below, would you do this if the draft compensation was enough? I think for us, Jesse, it's a hard no, but we'd love to hear from the fans down below. So that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for supporting us every single day. I'm Josh Gosse, alongside my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.